was the famous picture?
Hi everybody, it's Chris here from the Gallagate Shots YouTube channel. Just to let you know, as always, this podcast is now part of the 90-Minute Football Network and proudly sponsored by www.pt-4-u.co.uk. Enjoy the episode. Hi everybody, welcome back to the Gallagate Shots YouTube channel for post-match patter. Arsenal 2, Newcastle United 0. Mark, your first post-match patter of the season.
It is, yes.
I think people must be thinking, me and you just live here.
I know, we're never away, are we?
Nah. So we'll probably go around about 20, 30 minutes on this one for everybody who is watching. And it will go out as audio as well. So if you do happen to be doing anything and you disappear halfway through, you can listen back. Mark, so Eddie Howe, he's tested negative for COVID. Is he regretting that now?
Well, at least he's now seen firsthand the story of Newcastle United,
the highs and lows of Newcastle United. So
not that there was many highs, to be fair.
Yeah, so a couple of changes going into the game. Obviously, Dubravka came back, which is the main talking point for us right now. It's something for the last couple of weeks that, in fact, probably longer since the second Dubravka is fit. I know me and you and everybody else linked with the channel all want Dubravka back in the squad, despite how well Darlow is playing at times. And it proved today that how the dominance Martin Dubravka has really, and how relaxed I feel as a football fan while he's there between the sticks compared to how on edge I am when Darlow's there. I know we did lose the game 2-0, but there was moments in that game which highlights the fact why Dubravka is your number one goalkeeper.
Oh, absolutely. He just commanded his area a hell of a lot better. From the off, anytime the ball was coming into the box, particularly from corners, where he was getting placed under a lot of pressure. They had 3 or 4 of their players in front of him, kind of trying to block him from the ball. And he still, brought himself out and out jumped and caught it. And that's what I like to see. Whereas from Darlow, you see that he's a bit more hesitant to do that, or if he does, he doesn't seem to have a bigger leap, and he'll punch it clear. Whereas Darlow was coming and taking it quite confidently, which is always good to see, and what you want from your goalkeeper is confidence.
Yeah, that point blank save as well. Oh, great save, absolutely fantastic save. Something which Dubravka has been quite renowned for. Those sort of last minute. It's just instinctive, isn't it? With Dubravka, it really is. And how the follow-up didn't go in the goal. Jesus Christ.
That's not our look, isn't it? In a position like that, he's literally got the goal gape, and I think it was a player on the near post.
I think it was Richie.
Kind of coming across, but he's got to hit the target there, doesn't he? It's a massive, massive miss, that one. But what a save, to just, as you say, a reaction from it, and then it just falls nicely to him, and you think, oh, he's just gonna tap it in, but thankfully he didn't have his shooting boots on at that point.
You've got the save from the free kick as well. That's another moment that stands out. I know it wasn't in the corner, but it was a decent free kick, and Dubravka does well, not just to save it, but to clear it away from goal as well. Something which, once again, with Darlow, we've seen him drop those balls, and obviously just lands at the person in the 6-yard box, and we're obviously punished for it.
It was nice to see his starting position, because that's something that we've criticised him for in the past, particularly on free kicks. But I think it was just far enough out where it allows him to have a good look at it, but equally from an attacking point of view, it gives them enough space to get it up and over the wall, which is obviously what they did. But obviously he's dived across at full length and tipped it away nicely. So another good save, but probably a comfortable one, you would think. Yeah,
the other players that came in, I don't think they really did anything in the game. Well, actually, Emil Kraft, is he a footballer? Or is it just the fact that he's getting played in this weird right wing back? No, he was obviously right at the centre back positions.
Well, I don't know, because we actually started off as a 4-3-3.
We did, but
with him at right back, didn't we? And then we were getting absolutely tormented down
Fraser
that right
dropped
hand
out
side.
that wing
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Richie dropped his ass. Well, in fact, God knows how many people are playing in that position at one point. Actually, Fraser was playing left wing back at one point.
Yeah, when Richie
after
went
half
off, didn't
time.
he? Yeah.
It just seemed a bit all over the place in that defensive back line. And at times I was thinking, I don't really know what's happening. It gets back to the point of, where is Fernandez? I know, right? Well, obviously Jason Tyndall was interviewed and apparently said he's a great professional, blah, 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 bigging him up. But what's gone on there? Like, why isn't he even featuring on the bench?
It's strange, isn't it? You just...
If something's happened, come out and tell me what's happened, then it stops the likes of me and you sitting here and pissing and moaning about it.
Well, you thought it was something, obviously, at the end of Bruce's tenure, and then when Graham Jones took over, and he just totally took him out of any sort of distance from the squad. He was left out completely, and then he's then came in. He was on the bench a couple of times, but he just doesn't seem anywhere near it. I think one of the games, he didn't even name him on the bench, Jones, did he? He came out and said there's no point doing it because
he wouldn't be bringing him on.
So, but it's just weird because he is as an out and out defender, he's the best defender that we've got at the club. It's not just us that sit here and say it. There's, it's all over social media. Whenever anybody talks about the defense, there's a real kind of lack of understanding as to why Fernandez isn't getting in that team. It's just one of those big mysteries. He's obviously fit. So they can't say it's that. There's, I don't know whether they don't like him in the position, they don't think he's comfortable on the ball. But when you're playing Clark in there ahead of him, I know obviously, like, I assumed they were playing him because he's a left footer and they wanted him at the left side of the three in the centre. But when you're going back to a flat back four, it makes no sense not to have him in there.
I don't think I know Lascelles picked up the booking as well, so he's going to be missing the next game against Norwich, thankfully. I still wouldn't be surprised if you don't see Fernandez there either.
It's crazy if you probably expect them to bring Clark in, don't you? But God, that gives me nightmares. Clark and Shea alongside each other in the centre of defence. I
don't understand it, and I'm absolutely baffled by it. I really am. And somebody else who's going to be missing is Richie.
Yeah.
So Richie got another yellow card, and that'll take Richie out of that left wing back position as well. It'll probably give Lewis a chance there.
Well, it's a strange one, isn't it?
Club.
Yeah, it's strange because even the commentary team during the game, when they were talking about the fact that he was going to be Richie was going to be suspended, they then started talking about Paul Dummett and that they would have problems filling in the left back position. So even them have forgotten about Jamal Lewis and the fact that he still plays for the club. But it's just an odd one. It's one of those where he's literally going to be the only option unless you're playing somebody out of position. I know we've seen Mankiel go and play at left back a couple of times.
We've seen Kraft play left back as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Surely he has to come back in for that one. As you've just said, against his old team, he's going to have something to prove there. But why isn't he getting anywhere near the teams? Like not just under obviously the new management, he was completely isolated and left out, by Bruce.
And we were all under the impression that there had been some sort of fallout between Fernandez and the coaching staff, the previous coach and managerial staff. And you think, right, clean slate. But then nothing changes over the last couple of games. I'm honestly, it's a head scratcher, like, isn't it? And it's something must have happened behind the scenes.
But you don't see Fetty as being that kind of person to fall out with people. Like, yes, he'll tell the truth and be quite, open with his comments and stuff like that. But you cannot imagine him saying anything like out of order or anything that's like controversial or something like that. So if anything, maybe it was something with Jones, but then you would have thought, obviously, when the new guys have came in, that they'd kind of look at that and have a clean bill of health and just say, right, we'll go from there and see what it is. But it's almost as if they don't want to put him in either, which I just don't understand.
We're not exactly blaming the current coaching staff because it might be something that Fetty has done. It could have been. Will we ever find out? Well, obviously, it'll be a big tell if obviously that
we need that mold, don't we? We need the mold to tell what's going on.
The mold back, but it's going to speak volumes if the game on Tuesday comes around and Fetty is still nowhere to be seen. Not even making the bench.
It surely has to be Fernandez and Lewis in for that, doesn't it?
You would hope so.
God.
You would hope so. So the game itself, mate, first half, I thought there was glimpses of us looking like an improved team.
Yep.
Obviously, nowhere near the standard that we saw against Brentford, because, yes, we were playing Brentford, and today we were playing Arsenal. Arsenal, completely different beast to what Brentford are. But I wasn't pissed off or annoyed by that first half performance. We had a chance. Shelby had a couple of great strikes in the first half. Ramsdale pulled off a fantastic save to tip it onto the bar. Then not long after that, Shelby goes and drills one across the deck as well. Those sort of shots are normally, if that's against us, where it takes a huge deflection and ends up in the back of the net. And I thought, Shelby, once again, I would probably give Shelby man of the match today.
He had 2 or 3 nice chances from outside the box, and which he took, sweetly and caught them nice. We've seen plenty of times where they've gone flying over the bar or a mile wide, but he got all of them.
Was it their left back that had a dozen shots, every single one of them over?
Every one of them. But he's on an offensive point of view, he was looking, what you'd want from him, getting on there, hitting those balls. The amount of times where it was just coming out of the box and he was just running onto it, you're just waiting for one of those flying into the back of the net. But I think we started off with a plan just to be quite solid, compact, difficult to break down, and then hit them on the counter attack. And we did that for probably the first 30-35 minutes, and then it was a real step change from Arsenal in the last kind of 10 minutes of the first half. We were hanging on a little bit. We did have to adapt with formation, as I mentioned, because we did start off with a 4-3-3. Which allowed them to have a lot of space down their left, down our right-hand side, where Kraft was at times had 2 or 3 players over on him. So Fraser was then dropping back in, and then eventually it got to a point where he then started playing right in a 5, which then took into like a bit of a 5-2-3, and then sometimes a 5-3-2, depending on how we were going. But that change kind of just then made we're a little bit of defunct of anything going forward from that point.
And you mentioned this before we started recording. The second half comes along, and it seemed like the Newcastle of previous managerials and coaches. It seemed like you said that all the things that were heard in the first training video of Eddie Howe saying, don't stand still, move for the ball, look for the ball, pass and move. There was none of it.
We just reverted to type, didn't we? We reverted back to the Newcastle that we've seen for the last 2 or 3 seasons, with that lack of movement, people standing still, not wanting to get on the ball, not when we do have the ball, not being able to keep a hold of it or move it quickly. We were losing it very, very cheaply. When we're trying to keep a hold of the ball, kind of particularly along the back 5, Arsenal were just really pressing and putting under a lot of pressure. Which then, again, as we've seen in the past, it resulted to with then hitting longer balls to try and get us out of where we'd been hemmed in.
We seem to be getting deeper and deeper as well as that second half went on. There was one point where Wilson was the only one up top, and it frustrates you because this is how it used to be. Yeah. This is where you've got Shelby, and Shelby played such a crucial role in last week's game against Brentford because he was playing in between the likes of defensive midfield. He was given Shaw the opportunity to come out with the ball. Then obviously Shelby could have just done what he does best and finding the passes there. But today it was, as the second half went on, Shelby was dropping back into that centre back position, really, where the centre back should be picking the ball up, and from there giving it to Saint. Saint, to be fair to Saint, second half he did try a couple of runs which came to nothing. But I thought even Saint today, he just wasn't involved. He just tried. He did try his best, but it's one of those games where it doesn't matter how hard you try, and if everybody else isn't pulling the weight as well, you're not going to get very far up the field.
It was just one of it's the type of games where we do see him go missing. But to be fair to him, he wasn't the only one, and I don't want to single him out for that. But
it wasn't like a sulk; it was like just an anonymous performance.
It was one of those ones where he wasn't getting the ball. When he was getting them, it wasn't in positions that he was able to do what he likes to do, which is run at players. It was in areas where he was surrounded by people and stuff like that. It wasn't probably until maybe the last 10 minutes, something like that, where he started getting a little bit more space and stuff like that. Obviously, we made some changes in the second half with with Richie going off and Fraser, no, Joe going
went
off, and we brought Murphy. Murphy went in at the right wing back, and then Fraser moved across to the left wing back, and Miggy was in midfield, which then allowed us to actually have somebody that would pick up the ball and run.
Almiron looked quite lively when he came on, something which we know Almiron does when he comes on the field, and he did look quite lively at times. And I don't think we'll sit here and obviously we're looking at the negatives, but I don't think the game passed we're by up until probably around about the 60th minute, and that's when we're just seems as it was backs against the wall again. I thought in that first half, then we've got opportunities there to go on.
Yeah.
What I wanted to mention though was there was 3 penalty decisions. None of them were given. Not all for us. And the penalties where VAR looked at them and decided not to obviously award the penalty afterwards. But then in the same breath, there's a lot of people coming out on social media and saying if the penalties had been given, then VAR aren't overturn those. They're going to give those penalties as well. And I thought that there was 2. So there was one on Callum Wilson.
Yep.
And the one on Almiron, which was outside of the box. That wasn't a penalty, just outside of the box. I thought the referee had an absolute shock.
He was
today.
Absolutely awful.
Whistle happy.
He was the absolute definition of a homer. Like, he gave us absolutely nothing, and he gave them everything. He was looking to constantly interrupt the game. Any time he could blow the whistle and give them a free kick, he would. Anything where there was a half a challenge on us, there was nothing. It was only where it was a full-blown foul that he'd blow up and give it to us. But there was loads of times where I'm thinking that's a foul, and he's just let the game play on and stuff like that. And I mean, I shared it after the game. It was that clip of the Everton fan shouting, "You're shocking Atwell. You're terrible Atwell." Ironically, it wasn't him, but gee, Atwell today was absolutely
horrific. And I think that probably the one which annoyed me the most, the one which VAR did look at, was the foul on Fabian Schär in the box
corner at the post.
From the corner.
That was the one I thought that's
we got one given against us not long ago.
Yeah,
forcing. I think it was Lascelles was just dragging somebody all over. I think I might be wrong, but I'm sure it was Lascelles.
It would have been. That was Lascelles, isn't it?
Yeah. Very, very similar. I know the ball wasn't landing anywhere near Fabian Schär, but he's still getting dragged back in the box. And to me, that's probably a penalty.
Yeah, that was the one kind of looking at them that I'm thinking that's a one where you could give it. There was a shout for a handball, which admittedly I shouted for at the time, but then
it's harsh,
seeing it back, you're never getting that because he's slid and it bounced up and hit his arm behind him. There was that one from the corner, which I think it was the Wilson one. I'm in
the
two lines with it.
Well, the defender, I think he does go in for the shoulder barge, but from behind.
Yeah, it's a very aggressive shoulder barge, isn't it? He's not leaning on him. He's not just trying to, kind of put a bit of pressure on him. He's gone in there to give him a shove, albeit as the official on after the game has said it's shoulder to shoulder, therefore it's legal. But there's only the ref and him that said that. All of the pundits were in agreement that they thought that it was a foul. The fact of where the ball was, it's kind of coming to Wilson to take it on his chest and get it. The ball's not there to be won or anything like that, and he's coming from behind them. Wilson's in front of them, so I don't know, but within the letter of the law, it's shoulder to shoulder.
If it's given, though, that's not getting turned back. If VAR are going to look at that and go, it's not a penalty, they're going to give that all day long. Yeah,
it's an aggressive movement in the box that's caused Wilson to fall over and good. Now, equally, if that's happening at the other end, you're saying, well, it's shoulder to shoulder. He's just stronger, but I don't know. That's why I'm in two minds with it.
So Lascelles went and shoulder barred somebody in the face.
It was just a bit shorter.
Just a bit taller. Is that what we're putting that down to?
Yeah, height difference.
But that's what I mean, though. There was opportunities for penalty shouts, not just, majority were for Newcastle, 2 or 3. Then obviously you've got the one with Lascelles just goes and it's a goal scorer, isn't it? That he gets. He goes and gets him, and looking back, he does clatter him with those shoulders. He does. But for me, the Wilson one, you can see it go either way. But the Fabian Schär one for me,
that's the one for me as well.
Yeah, it has to be a penalty. They said that they're going to stop this from being in the Premier League, the likes of shirt pulling and stuff like that, and clearly it's not the case.
Yeah. No, and I mean there was even times where it was like free kicks not being given, where it was the same kind of thing where they've got handfuls of shirts and stuff like that, and he just wasn't having any of it. I mean, there was one that a free kick where we went through, and it comes to Mickey on the edge of the box, and he's just wiped out by two of them. Nothing, not a thing. And they go down the other end and have a chance, and it's like, wow.
I think Willock does one as well. Willock's running through a halfway, and he tries to dodge a challenge, and he jumps over them. I'm sure it was Willock. He tries to jump over them, then they just pick the ball up and go away. I'm like, how well?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you have days like that. I mean, before the game, I'm not expecting to get anything out of it. In all honesty, the amount of times we've gone down to Arsenal and we've struggled. How many times, as we said the other night, have we gone there and lost 3 or 4-0?
Yeah.
If Bruce is still at the club and we're playing in that game today, we're losing that easily by that margin. So for me, there was a lot more fight and stuff like that, albeit in the second half.
Just flat, wasn't it?
Yeah, we as I say, reverted to the old Newcastle that we don't want to see. Did everything that Eddie Howe has, told them not to do, but it's going to take time to get them out of those habits.
And the results which we've seen there today, and once again, it just proves how massive these next 2 home games are for us.
Absolutely,
Norwich and Burnley coming up, and our WhatsApp group, just to give you a little bit of insight, that there's not many optimistic people in there. Everybody, well, I think majority of people now are thinking, shit, like, we're pretty fucked here. I still think we can get out of it. I do, but it's all relying on the next 2 games for me.
The next 2 games are huge. I mean, you're looking at them. I said before this kind of run of 4 games that we had before Brentford, is that you're going into that and you're wanting a minimum of 7 points. I honestly thought we would beat Brentford and Norwich, and then the Burnley one would be where we were maybe picking up a point. So we have to get 6 points out of these next 2 games, because if we don't, we are. It pains us to say it, but we are in the mire if we don't pick up.
And you've got the usual pundits coming out now saying that Newcastle are wrong to sack Steve Bruce because Eddie Howe isn't the man to get these players, the best out of these players. And honestly, I'm telling you now, don't entertain it. Like, they're doing it for a reaction. They're doing it for people that call into their radio shows and shit like that.
Robbie Savage even commented and said, after it's called final score or whatever that came on after the game, almost defending Bruce and having a go at the players, and then in one breath he's like saying Eddie Howe's not the man to get them out of that, and then he's saying, but Bruce would have.
They're a pair of bellends, man.
But he was blaming the players two seconds ago. So what is it?
Yeah,
it's
honestly the pair, those 2 are a pair of bellends, like they really are, and they only do it for a reaction. And unfortunately, I know it's hard not to bite sometimes, but this is what they want. This is how they get interaction on social media. It's not because the good pundits or anything like that. They just do it similar to like what Talk Sport do.
Yeah.
So there's no shock that they've got their own radio show as well. Never mind the BT stuff. But for me, mate, we go into that game on Tuesday now, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm shitting myself for that game now.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Nick Kovac has changed massively.
Yeah, that's they're going into that pre-match and they're saying, look, this is a huge game for Newcastle. They have to win this because we're sitting bottom of the table. They're just going to want to kind of frustrate us, make us, try and get the crowd to turn. Whether or not that'll happen, I don't know, because obviously it's going to be Eddie Howe's first home game. He's going to be there in the dugout. So we all seen, that the impact of that, albeit he wasn't there at the weekend. So I'd hope that would be the case come Tuesday night. It's always a special atmosphere underneath the floodlights anyway. Hopefully it's not like it is today with the bloody snow and wind and all sorts. But
hopefully it's like the last match under the floodlights against Norwich.
Yeah.
Where Mitrovic and Dwight Gale had an absolute blinder in the last 10 minutes.
I don't want to go down I'd rather just like win by 4 rather than go through all of that.
Back.
Yeah, but it's a massive, massive game. We'll have to try and maximise and go at that, and we will. Look, we as much as we kind of try to be more compact and hit them on the break. We at least, certainly in the first half, at least tried to take the game to them a little bit, where rather than being completely passive. And I think we'll see more of what we did against Brentford on Tuesday night.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, mate, because it's a huge game that just keeps on getting bigger and bigger as the days go by. It really is.
It's that monkey on your back, isn't it? Is we need to get our first win, and until we get those first 3 points on the board, it's always going to be that's the thing. But
yeah.
And hey, what's to say that after picking that up is we don't get that bit of confidence and go on a little bit of a run?
Right, so we will be back on Monday night for the Always Smile Face podcast with Bestie and Decker. There'll be plenty of stuff coming this week because obviously we've got that Norwich game on Tuesday. Then it is the Burnley one on Saturday, all right? Yeah. So straight into the Burnley games for 2 back-to-back home games there. Huge week for Newcastle United. Massive week for the club. We'll just have to sit here and fingers crossed that we've got enough to get all 6 points, because we need all 6 points.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can't be picking up any more draws in those next 2 games. It has to be all 6.
It's not the end of the world if we get 4 points, but it's what you've got to be after, and
it's a minimum of 4, isn't it?
That's what he's going to be saying is, look, we've got to go out there and we've got to look to win the game, but it's not the end of the world if we have to win one of those games. And on paper, Norwich is that game where you would hope that we could do it.
But it's not all negative. There was some positives from the game. Another decent performance by John Joe. Dubravka's back in there. Obviously, we're going to have a chance to see, hopefully, Lewis at left back.
Yeah. Wilson didn't get booked as well.
Wilson didn't get booked, yeah.
So he's going to be available, which is a positive, because Gale's obviously out injured, so we wouldn't have had a recognised striker.
We're going to have to go through all this again on Tuesday night, hoping that Wilson doesn't get booked as well, though, for the Burnley game.
Yeah, we need to work out when that one's going to... when it drops off.
Halfway through the season?
Halfway through the season.
Yeah, halfway through the season.
So it's going to be... So maybe, I don't know, maybe a tactical one where we, against Burnley, picks up a booking, because we've got Man City and Chelsea after
not great after that. Not great. Hence why it's more important to get these 6 points in the bag now. Thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. Me and Mark are out to go and see the K's.
Yes, Viva la K's.
Viva la K's. See you all later. We're out to tackle the wins. Stay safe. Don't leave the house like us two. Get the fire on. Get the drinks in. See you later.
Get changed and get on the piss. Howie.